feel in some kind of way. Um, but I think, particularly in our current situation with the current administration, what we're doing here, I think, really stands out, in stark contrast to a lot of the efforts to deny and erase history, and particularly the uncomfortable parts of our history. Um, and so I think in a lot of ways, the report and now legislation that's starting to happen, is standing as a beacon. And I see it as a beacon of hope, that we're not retreating, that we are standing firmly and confronting, if you will, but standing for the truth and standing for accountability and those values that ostensibly we hold dear as a people. So I'm encouraged by the work that we're doing, and as we're bringing this commission to a close, as well as preparing for that next phase with the reparations commission. I'm truly honored and gratified to continue this work with you all. Other thoughts, criticisms, questions, comments?
Hey Nick, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I not to like make light of it, but I think what we saw yesterday in a halftime show was
Mm-hmm.
very indicative globally of how people want to see this world as a better place. And I was like super inspired just of like acknowledgement of messages of colonialism and the legacies of slavery in Puerto Rico. But again, like tying Puerto Rico into this country and its foundation, I think thinking about like what our commission does and the challenges, sometimes we feel like it's just impacting us, and it's we're part of a much larger story of racial terror globally. And so what was a beautiful message of love gave me hope yesterday.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I loved, the only thing he said in English was "God bless America," followed by all of the nations in the Americas with those flags. And it was just, yeah, I thought that was just a beautiful spin. And again, showing, what would hopefully be sort of that, uniting us in our humanity, and recognizing that, yeah, we are just one of many nations in this part of the world. And yeah, I thought that was just a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah. And I absolutely love his refusal of English speak, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I really love it. And as he said in many interviews, English is not my first language, but it's not that of this country either.
It's either, yes. That was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, but here again, I think it speaks to the extent of the work that needs to be done, still, and I'm always just sort of reminded of that spiritual, I've been in the storm so long, but we got to keep going, otherwise, what choice do we have? But yeah, so other thoughts, reflections?
Is since we're not having a formal meeting, is this kind of the opportunity just to share anything, or are we focused on Soul Check?
Let's just open it up. Yeah, let's have at it.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I wanted to, well, actually, Nick, I know you'll probably make the announcement about the apology, right? You'll talk about that. Okay. So I just wanted to share a frustration that I'm having, that maybe someone on the call has connections and can help us with in any way. But with our commission having been set up as through legislation by the General Assembly, we have been reaching out, and we've had a lot of success connecting with individual members of the General Assembly, but we have been less successful trying to get an audience with the Legislative Black Caucus, or with different caucuses, or with the General Assembly as a whole. And I think, given the amount of free time, energy, resources we have spent fulfilling the mission that was created by the General Assembly, I think they should be asking to hear from us. And I think it's great that they set up the Reparations Commission, but if they give them the same type of reception that they're giving us, I think it's not worth the effort. And I'm not saying what we've done isn't worth the effort, because I think we've done amazing things. But I think as soon as our report was issued, we should have been invited to come speak to them, as opposed to us really trying to track them down to try to get an audience with them. And so all that to say, if anyone on this call, I know this isn't the full commission and other people have other networks, but if other people have relationships with, people in the General Assembly, please utilize those now to try to help us get brought in. Our commission is sunsetting at this summer, and so this is probably the only time they would get to hear from us, would be now. And there's no expectation that they would pass all of our recommendations this session. We expect, as Nick drafted a timeline for implementation, that hopefully our recommendations will continue to be implemented after our commission sunsets. But at the same time, if they want to hear from us, if they want to hear our explanations or anything like that, or at least just have a stronger memory of our work that lives outside of a written report, I think it would be really important to address them this legislative session. So that's just a general, frustration / ask. On another note, going back in the same line of relationships, I saw an op-ed in a paper today, or not today, it was a couple days ago, from a reverend who was just speaking out, encouraging the General Assembly to support reparation efforts. And he mentioned our lynching convention. And I thought that was so wonderful. And I kind of wondered if perhaps maybe he was someone that attended the virtual briefing. I don't know whether he was or not, a couple of weeks ago, but that is one of the things that we asked of people as takeaways. How can you help? It's to speak up, write op-eds, contact your representatives, things like that. And so again, if you guys have relationships with, organizations, civic groups, churches, things like that, and if you could encourage them to speak out in support of this work, I think it could go a long way to helping the General Assembly see that this is something that matters to their constituents. And maybe that will help get their attention. So just a couple of thoughts along those lines.
Thank you. Yes, and absolutely. Please. Particularly for, and I guess, well, what the heck, we might as well just get it out there. Delegate Holland White has introduced the first of the recommendations, good old A, asking the state to apologize. And that has been introduced as House Joint Resolution number 8. And let me find the and yeah, here we go. Drop that in the chat so you can look at the text of the bill, but then also share with your networks that this is happening, and that this is the first of the recommendations that we've made. That is hopefully going to make it across the finish line. Yeah, I don't know how many others they're working on trying to introduce. Personally, I would love to see posthumous indictments get introduced and make it through. There's lots more there, but just that for my own personal interests, I would love to see happen, because there again, that's removing that cloak of anonymity, and I think that, symbolically, would be a major step, in I guess, putting it on the map, as it were. But we've got one in, and again, I'll follow up with Delegate White Holland to see if there are any more in the offing. But that, I think, is the big news for today, because that only showed up on the legislative scan on Friday, and that was after the executive team met. So this is about as hot off the presses as we can get. But yeah, I'm encouraged, and again, this is another one of those moments that gives me hope.
I would say for whichever one of us ends up serving on the reparations commission, if there's a way that commission could do annual meetings with either the Legislative Black Caucus or the General Assembly, I think it needs to stay in front of mind, and they need to be anticipating the work that's coming. And I think that would be helpful when they do issue their report and their recommendations. The legislature would, already be prepared for that. So that would be a recommendation I would pass along.
I was going to say, Commissioner Coles, it may be helpful to partner with like a state entity that does like a legislative night annually. Like I know like the Banneker Douglas does one, the Maryland Heritage Area Authority, MHT, like a lot of different agencies do like these legislative nights. And I'm thinking, I don't know if the Banneker Douglas Tubman has had their legislative night yet, but maybe to reach out to like a Chanel Compton to see like, like when you have a moment, because I think it was last year, the year before, they held their Black History program at the Banneker Douglas Tubman Museum. And, that's a captive time to get it. I don't know, just because I've never really like surveyed other commissions, like how likely it is sometimes to get the Legislative Black Caucus to do that kind of thing. I just don't know. But I think just from what I do know, that there are these legislative nights and people like plan them in advance of session, and they're already on the calendars. And I know like the Legislative Black Caucus, like they were at the governor's mansion like February 1st, I think, for a meeting. And the governor used to partner with the African American Commission, but I think that's kind of faltered a little bit for his Black History program. I mean, there's a couple of opportunities that I see as possibilities. We just have to, I think, starting today, figure out like who we need to reach out to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're like kind of volunteering to,
Yeah, I can reach out to the, Chanel Compton and the new chair, Kali Yasset Amen, just to figure out if they've had their legislative night already.
And so that's a time where General Assembly members come to that place to speak with constituents. Is that what that means?
Yeah, and with a body. And a lot of times, like because the Banneker Douglas Tubman is an African American museum, they will invite the Legislative Black Caucus to their night. And you don't always get the full body, but you get a good representation. So it may be a good opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, if the Banneker Douglas, if they also wanted to hold an event on the lynching report, there's enough commissioners that live in this area that could attend that. I mean, I think that would be a great way to connect community members with what we're doing. I feel like for the Legislative Black Caucus, we ought to be able to get them in the State House because that's where they are. Like, I don't know if we necessarily need to get them out the State House to meet with them. But I mean, we could explore all avenues.
Sure.
But maybe Banneker Douglas would want to hold just a session on the lynching report, and those of us that are available could attend and participate. Someone else had mentioned with Carl Snowden's group, the African American leaders. Yeah. Maybe they would, they have their regular meetings. Maybe they would want to host a meeting on this topic. I looked. I don't think Carl, you're not on this call, are you?
No, I haven't seen Carl here yet.
Okay, so but yeah, that's another idea. In terms of the legislative session, it has very little time left in it. I think bills had to be introduced by I think like this week, and then the session wraps. What is it, like mid-March, early March? Yeah, it's
week in April it wraps. Yeah.
So if we're able to do all of these things, as quickly as possible would be the goal. And we have had some great meetings, like Commissioner Curry said, with Delegate White Holland, after which she found some co-sponsors and is introducing a bill, and also connecting us with other delegates who were introducing similar bills that tied into our work. And we recently met with the state comptroller. We met with the state comptroller, and later this week we're meeting with the governor's chief of staff. So we have had some great meetings. We just haven't been able to kind of address a body.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you say you're going to meet with the governor's chief of staff?
Yes, Lester Davis, I think.
You should consider asking, like, is there room on their schedule at their Black History program? And then I don't know if like some of our smaller liaison groups from the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, like I know the Prince George's County Lynching Memorial Project, they have a program on the 21st. Imagine that because of their jurisdictions, they must invite different, politicians, whether that be like from the General Assembly or much more locally, but maybe that's a captive audience too. But I know this one particular group is having something on Saturday, February the 21st. And I'm happy to forward that and share it with the group.
That's PG, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an affiliation of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project. And that program on the 21st is regarding one of the lynching victims and presenting history. So I think it's a pretty full program. I'm not downplaying it, but just a reminder, everybody on the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project's email list, like 6,000 people, received the invitation to the virtual briefing. So by that nature, all the coalitions have received that information, coalition members. I think it is about getting into the caucuses and meeting them in their places, not meeting them at a neutral or offsite location. I think that's really where we're at. So I just want to elevate your comments. We've sort of done the general public. We need to keep doing general public. So not move away from that, but we need to grab that next ring, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then tangent, I just want to flag is if any of you guys have been watching the Walk for Peace that the monks have been doing, they're ending their walk in Annapolis, starting at the Navy and then walking to the State House Thursday morning. So I thought that was really cool. And then after that, they're going to the airport. I'm guessing maybe they're headed to BWI, but they're doing DC and then their last stop's Annapolis. So
yeah, I think they're in Alexandria today.
Yeah. So cool.
And see what we have.
But I want to double back on what I said. I understand the PGC LMP is a body of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, but please understand these people, they're meeting at Oxon Hill Public Library. They do have the right to invite local members of the General Assembly. And if one happens to show up there, it may be an opportunity to connect. Like not everybody always gets the messaging right away when you send it in their inbox. And so face-to-face goes a long way. Like we just had our PG Parks event and 3 delegates, Delegate Fennell, Nicole Williams, and we had 3 at that event. And so if I had known that, prior to, I would have been happy to kind of set up a time to talk with them because they are there and they're communicating with people after the formal program. So I think while I agree, we definitely need to figure out how to get space in Annapolis. It's just like once session starts, like when it starts in January, everything that they have planned has already been discussed prior to that day. So we're kind of late in this hour. So just thinking about like how we can best partner with the people that already have the connection.
Yeah. Or is there a way that we can start talking with people now to start thinking about next year so that hey, come April session ends, but then May, June, while we're still around, if we can start prepping and say, hey, Delegate White Holland, here's the rest of the bills, here's the other things that we're thinking about that should be happening year 2. Can we plan on getting those in? Yes, there's going to be a whole lot of other things that need to be done, but if we can at least kind of, I guess, sort of prime the pump for next session, I think that would probably be the best strategy at this point.
And Commissioner Creary, does Edith Perry still work with Delegate Pena Milnick now that she's Speaker of the House? I just didn't know. Because sometimes she has really great recommendations for how.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure if she's followed to the speaker's office, or I thought I had heard at some point that she was retiring, but I could be entirely wrong about that. But yeah, I can check on that. But yeah, she's a wonderful, wonderful person, wonderful resource. And that, yeah, just I also threw in the chat another bill that's looking at, that was very similar to one of the recommendations that we had made in the final report about amending the juror disqualifications, so that people who had been convicted or were involved in the legal system can have their right to serve on juries restored. So that's another one that isn't specifically coming out of the report, but is very much, adjacent. Well, I won't say adjacent. It's doing the same thing again. Lots of smart people can kind of come up with similar solutions to similar problems. So I think that's another one that we should be watching and tracking and getting on people's radar to support. So other thoughts, other things happening? Oh, there was another something I guess I was going to say for announcements, but I just have to find it in all of the open tabs that I've got here. Here we go. Come on, if we can, there we go. If you've got time and are interested, on February 17th, our very own Taisha Dupree Wilson will be doing a presentation. Oh, hi, Commissioner Barnes. No worries. We're glad that you can make it. But Commissioner Dupree Wilson will be doing a presentation at Coppin, and it will be live streamed, or you should be able to get onto Zoom with it. But I just wanted to drop that in the chat and share that, just so people know, and so that we can get out and support our colleague here. And again, it looks like a really fun presentation, from that, it's like looking at house music and music in Baltimore. So I think that'll be a fun presentation, and I would encourage as many of us as are able to attend and support Commissioner Dupree Wilson.
Yeah, I guess I should also wish Commissioner Lindsay Baker the best today, as she's testifying today on behalf of the Maryland Humanities, so that they can get their Shine grant reinstated. So
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there's anything that we can do at this point. I mean, should we be calling legislators, members of the House of Delegates and Senate?
probably could, I'm sure that's big support, but maybe I'll send an email to her and just have her send out the ways that we can support.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. All right. Is there anything else? Just trying to think. Amy or Kristen, was there anything from the executive team meeting Friday that I'm forgetting that we were going to talk about? I mean, I know at some point we need to talk about who from our commission is going to serve on the reparations commission, but that I think is a conversation for when we have more folks present.
Right.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
I just have a question. I'm glad you mentioned that. I just hope that we get someone from our commission that it has the time dedication and the passion and drive. My question, I guess, is more for the chair. Like, it feels like people kind of tapped out, almost like we kind of ended in December and we still have to finish in June. And so I think we need to like find out like who's still at the table at this point, because I know, like, yeah, I work and I haven't been able to be as supportive in the last couple of months, but I'm still here and I want to see it through. I think we just need to find out like what we have in the way of support leading up to the finish line.
Yeah, that's again, I think a big part of the conversation is probably going to be an uncomfortable part of the conversation for some folks, but yeah, we need to make sure that whoever we put forward is going to show up and is going to roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty, and do the work. And I think also significantly is going to be able to bring the institutional memory of this organization and what we've done to that, to that commission, because, I'm sure a lot of the things that they're going to do in terms of startup and getting moving, we've already been through. And so we can say, okay, hey, you might not want to do that, or you may want to do this, or here's what we found, as we were going through it. So yeah, I want to make sure whoever is going there is going to do the work. So any volunteers? I know not
me, but I have recommendations at least 4 individuals on this call.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got thoughts and ideas too, but I also know that yes, none of us are getting paid for this. Nobody's going to be getting paid on the reparations commission either. So yeah, it's kind of hard to, keep doing this and a day job. So yeah, that's going to be a challenge, but I think it's going to be an important conversation for us to have before we sunset.
Yeah, I think it's a definitely an irony that they ask people to do unpaid labor to look at reparations for people having done unpaid labor.
Yes, that is not lost on me.
Very good point.
Okay. Other ideas, other thoughts? Again, I actually, since Commissioner Barnes, you hopped in a little late, I don't know if you heard that first bill with one of the recommendations from the final report has been introduced and is going under House Joint Resolution number 8, asking the state to apologize for its role in racial terror lynching. So We've got our first one on the board. So
Great.
share
you.
it with your networks. I'll drop the link in the chat again so you can pick that up and share that with your networks. But yes, tell everyone to, encourage the, both House and Senate to support this. Because, I mean, yeah, it's symbolic to be sure, but it's making a statement, and a big one at that. So, unless there are other pressing matters or things that people want to bring up and share, I think we can probably wrap it up and call it a meeting, and we'll do all the official business next month.
Thanks for taking the lead, Nick.
Oh, happy to do it. It's always, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my life. It's like, once this all ends and I'm not seeing y'all every month.
We need one big commission vacation.
Yeah, I guess, there'll be some withdrawal, but yeah. But anyway, I'm always happy to, to step up and help wherever I can. So, just thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great week. And yeah, stay tuned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.